And Dan said, listen, if he's going to be kind enough to want to play, then Andrew will play.
That's fair.
And he said, let's play, we'll play. But as long as it's nothing to do with him.
No, of course it's nothing to do with him. I understood it completely, understood exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, because if it's anything near him...
I do not want to get anybody in trouble.
But you will be his friend.
Right.
I will listen to the friendship talk between you two.
Right.
And then I do it.
Okay.
You two talk,
right.
I listen.
Okay.
Then I activate.
Right.
On to the next thing.
Let's see.
£500,000 when you can, to me, open doors.
New Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Is that a deal?
Yeah.
There are two kinds of secrets in the world. Some secrets stay buried because no one ever finds them. But the most dangerous secrets stay buried because everyone agrees to protect them. And inside the royal world, silence is never an accident. It's a decision. For years, there was one story that quietly followed the royal family like a shadow. It was never officially denied, never corrected, never laughed off. It wasn't chased by lawsuits or buried understatements. It was simply ignored. And that's what made it different. Because in royal life, when something truly isn't true, it's shut down immediately. But when silence stretches on for years, it usually means one thing. Someone powerful wants it to stay buried. At the center of that silence was Sarah Ferguson, known to the public as Fergie. She heard the story early. She knew the details, and yet she never rushed to correct it. Not once. She didn't protect it with words. She protected it with absence. And in a world built on appearances, that absence spoke loudly. The story itself wasn't small. It didn't involve gossip or casual rumors. It involved a private yacht, a royal prince, and a woman who would one day hold a duchess title of her own. 3 days, total isolation, and a consequence that allegedly followed. One that could have changed everything before the public ever knew a name. This wasn't a story meant to surface. It was sealed carefully, deliberately, and for a long time, it worked until the silence stopped serving everyone involved. Because when the person who protected the quiet no longer benefits from keeping it, the past doesn't stay buried. It demands to be heard. And that's where this story truly begins. To understand why this silence is important, you have to understand who Sarah Ferguson really is. Not the tabloids version, but the one shaped by decades inside royal life. Fergie didn't need lessons on wealth or access. She lived inside it. She married into it. She survived it. More importantly, she understood Prince Andrew's world long before the public ever questioned it. She knew the environments he preferred. She knew the social circles he moved through. She knew how yacht culture worked, not as fantasy, but as routine. These were not mysterious spaces to her. They were familiar ones. So when later stories surfaced involving yachts, elite guests, and carefully controlled environments, Fergie wasn't surprised. She recognized the pattern because she had lived alongside it for years. And that's what makes her silence so telling. Inside royal dynamics, silence is often used as a form of management. It's how uncomfortable stories are handled without confrontation. If everyone benefits from not talking, then no one talks. For a long time, that balance held. Fergie stayed close enough to remain protected. The institution stayed intact and certain stories stayed sealed. But silence only works when it's useful, and eventually the balance shifted. When protection fades, so does loyalty. And when someone who understands the full picture stops playing their role, the silence becomes dangerous. That's why Fergie's quiet isn't passive. It's strategic. And when strategy changes, so does the story. Years after the original silence was set in place, another figure entered the royal orbit. One the public believed was new to this world. Her name was Meghan Markle. To many, Meghan appeared to arrive suddenly. An actress, an outsider, someone stepping into royalty for the first time. But to Sarah Ferguson, this wasn't a brand new story. It was an old one resurfacing. Because Meghan didn't enter royal life blindly. She had already moved through elite spaces. She had already dated within powerful circles. She already understood status, proximity, and access, and that mattered. Later, Meghan would tell a story about her first meeting with Prince Andrew. She suggested she didn't recognize him, that she mistook him for someone insignificant, a man holding the Queen's handbag. To the public, it sounded charming, almost funny. But to someone like Fergie, it sounded impossible. Andrew wasn't invisible. He wasn't obscure. And he wasn't someone easily overlooked, especially by someone who had studied the royal family and later married directly into it. That kind of language has a purpose. When people need to erase familiarity, they rewrite the beginning. They soften the memory. They create distance. And distance is usually required when something existed before the official timeline begins. To Fergie, the story wasn't about a misunderstanding. It was about separation, about drawing a clean line between past proximity and present convenience. Because once Meghan became part of the royal story through a different door, the past stopped being harmless. It became a liability. And that's when silence stopped being enough. Because when proximity returns, history follows. And buried stories don't stay buried forever. To understand what happened next, we have to rewind. Not just in time, but in setting. February 2002. The south of France off the coast of Nice. Not a crowded party boat, not a floating nightclub, a private yacht. This detail matters because privacy changes everything. Private yachts are controlled spaces. There are no strangers wandering in and out. Everyone on board knows who everyone else is and why they're there. There are no accidental encounters, no misunderstandings. According to the account passed on quietly, Prince Andrew arrived as a VIP guest and Meghan Markle was already there present as part of the social group on board. At first, nothing seemed unusual until Andrew arrived. That's when the dynamic shifted. Attention moved quickly, not slowly, not subtly. Within a short time, Meghan was allegedly positioned beside Andrew, not drifting between guests, not circulating, but staying close. Observers noticed it because it broke the flow of the group, then came the withdrawal. According to the account, the two were said to have gone below deck and they didn't resurface casually. They didn't rejoin the group after a short absence. They stayed secluded. Meals were allegedly delivered privately. Time passed. Hours turned into days. For several days, they were said to remain separate from the rest of the yacht's guests. And when they finally emerged, something had changed. The atmosphere wasn't the same. The ease was gone. The group dynamic felt different. Quieter, heavier. People noticed. People talked. And even though no one made a public scene, the story stayed with those who witnessed it. Because moments like that don't fade, they imprint. For Sarah Ferguson, this wasn't shocking. It wasn't even surprising. It fit a pattern she already understood. But what truly matters in stories like this isn't what happens in isolation. It's what happens afterward. When the yacht returned to shore, the story didn't end. According to the account, contact continued. There were follow-up communications, conversations, a sense, at least on one side, that something meaningful had been established. But then Andrew returned to London, and everything changed. Calls stopped being answered. Messages went unanswered. Time passed without explanation. This wasn't a gradual drifting apart. It was a cut-off. Eventually, the barrier became formal. According to the testimony, staff were instructed to block contact entirely. Access closed, door shut. Inside royal dynamics, this kind of distance isn't emotional. It's procedural. Problems aren't argued with. They're erased by separation. For someone accustomed to access to conversation, to response, that silence would have been absolute and confusing and alarming, especially if there was something important to say. Because according to the account, the attempts to reach Andrew didn't stop. They became persistent, repeated, urgent, not casual check-ins. Something was wrong. Something needed to be communicated, and Andrew never responded. This is the point where the story deepens and where the silence begins to make sense. According to the account passed on, Meghan believed she was pregnant. If true, this would have changed everything, not just personally, but institutionally. A child connected to Prince Andrew outside marriage, outside control, and outside royal planning would have been catastrophic. It would have created questions that couldn't be managed quietly. And yet, the response was silence. No returned calls, no acknowledgement, no engagement. Andrew disengaged completely. For someone used to doors opening, that rejection would have been total. According to the account, with no response and no path forward, a decision was made.